muckers, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all having the best day ever. Thank you so much for clicking on my YouTube channel and on my video today. I really appreciate you being here. Oh my god, okay, so I just watched the H3 podcast with Tana Mongeau. It was basically Ethan and Hila on with Tana, and it was really interesting. And by the way, Hila's makeup was incredible. Hila looked hot, but that's besides the point. And Tana revealed a lot, and they were asking her about Jeff. They were asking her about, you know, past relationships, past friendships, and it was really just fascinating. But there was a section where they talk about Shane Dawson, which I thought was really interesting, and we're gonna get to it. And Tana talks about basically her experience with Shane Dawson, because they were friends at one stage, or at least like business colleagues. Remember the full TanaCon situation? If you remember it, Shane was the one that got Tana out of that. You know, she brings that up. She talks about like how she dealt with Shane going through the cancellation, because she was also involved in a lot of the clips that were resurfacing about Shane. One being her as an 18-year-old pissing on Shane as like a 30-something man. And it was really interesting hearing her talk about it. And Ethan was definitely, you know, like provoking the conversation by showing like old clips of Shane and, you know, trying to like talk about the reasons he was cancelled and stuff. And, you know, Tana's responding to that. It's really interesting. We're gonna get to it. Before we get into this video, I want to remind you that I'm doing a giveaway right now, which is basically, if you go over and follow me on Twitch, it is at the Adam McIntyre, or will be linked down below. I'm going to be giving away 5 people. I get a list of everyone who follows. 5 people are going to be getting $100 each at the end of the month whenever I announce it. So all you have to do is go over and follow. I'm also doing live streams every single day over there in my streaming era. And it's really fun. So that's what you can do if you want it. Also, we have a Discord now. We just hit 1,000 members over there. So yes, all right. So we have 2 things to show. We have this main clip right here. Why am I? Oh my, I'm talking on Twitch. Oh, I was wondering, why could I hear myself? So they also uploaded it as a podcast highlight, and basically because this is going to be something that people talk about a lot, and it was Tana talking about her friendship with Shane Dawson. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch a little bit of this, talk about it, and then we're going to reference this, which is Tana talking about the first time that basically, oops, sorry, I didn't mean to kick you there. Apologies. Sorry, babe. Tana talks about the first time she's seen Shane in a very long time, which was Jeffree Star's skincare launch, and we do have videos of that as well that we're going to be referencing from the Hollywood Fix. But basically, let's get into it. It's really interesting. So here we go. This is on the H3 podcast. Watch this for fair use commentary purposes. Let's hear what Tana has to say, and let's talk about it.
I don't know, I loved YouTube. I loved like Shane Dawson, and I love like Jenna Marbles, and I wanted to do it.
Hearing people bring Shane and Jenna in the same sentence, like comparing them, always triggers me, and it always just rubs me the wrong way.
Opinion on Shane since like, have you talked to him about since like his major cancellation?
Yes, the last time I spoke to Shane was at a Jeffree Star skin event, probably like 8 months ago, 9 months ago. We've spoken over messaging a couple times since then. And it's interesting, because Shane was my idol. Shane was my world. Like, he's the only he saved my life, and he's the only reason I ever started.
It's interesting hearing Tana has spoken with him since this event. Should we just kind of reference it, first of all? So this is on the Hollywood Fix. It's interesting she's spoken to him since this again. This was like his big moment coming back to the space, basically.
Hey, what's up, Rylan? I gotta turn it down. I'm not...
Since you were in our apartment.
Literally in your house, and I tripped and fell on the stairs on the way up and everything. How have you guys been?
You know what? Really good. I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah.
I messaged you several times and I was like, Shane, I'm like, get out of the house. Leave the house. And you were like, I can't, I won't. And you moved to Colorado.
And that was before I got canceled. You don't like leaving the house.
Right. How are you doing mentally?
Poor Ryland
Are you
hating this.
mentally doing okay? How was the move?
Trying to make a joke. No jokes. Yeah, doing really good.
Okay, so that was kind of Shane's big moment of being seen again. But what I'm saying is, it's interesting hearing that since that moment of them being reconnected with, you know, Tana and Shane, that they actually have spoken on text. Because, again, I just kind of wonder how Shane feels about all these people in the creator space that when he got cancelled, like, were speaking up against him. Like, I'm not talking about, like, us, but I'm talking about people like Tana, where Tana was, speaking up against him, talking about him on podcasts, liking tweets about her, feeling like Shane used her and all these different things and how inappropriate he was towards her. So I wonder how Shane feels talking to these people again, like post-cancellation again, where he's kind of in the graces of, the public again, and these people are kind of back on side again. It's interesting.
He saved your life? How did he save your life?
In the regard of, like, in so many ways, really. But it began with, like, I fell in love with the idea of him and his sense of humor as well. Him joking about fucked up shit. Obviously, that didn't age well, but I'm saying at the time.
It didn't age well is a really, really, really light way to put that.
To make light of trauma and to provide an escape for people who might need it. And I was that person who needed it. You know what I mean? Like, I loved... my household's full-blown chaos, awful, I'm crying, I hate my life, and for 5 minutes of a day, I get to escape, and Shane Dawson's day gets to make me laugh. And that saved me in so many regards, was the escapism of it all. And then, I think he genuinely, like, the things that he was saying empowered me enough to think maybe I can do this too, which also saved my life in a regard. And then I accredited so much of, you know what I mean? Like, I blew up because I made this video because he inspired me. And then I met him. And then at the time he was so there for me day in and day out, and like mentored the shit out of me on like how to do this and how to deal with all of the emotions of this lifestyle. And
I mean, we talked about the TanaCon series with Shane on this channel not that long ago. I mean, it was awful. TanaCon was awful, but Shane's series was even worse, where Shane really, if it wasn't for Shane, Tana would not be having a platform today, and I genuinely believe that. He was able to kind of market TanaCon in a way that made Tana seem like a victim, and he did such a good job at curating that image for her. So Tana owes everything in being here still to Shane, in my opinion. So I'm sure she holds like a lot of, kind of feeling awkward talking about this as well, because without Shane, really, Tana Mongeau would not be able to have been forgiven by so many people on the internet.
Also just, like pointers, business pointers. You're really funny doing this. Keep doing this. Blah, blah, blah. Was there for me.
Can't believe Shane Dawson would be giving anyone else business advice, but I will be moving past that point.
For years and years, all TanaCon, just everything though. Like, you know what I mean?
Right? Hot. This is a sexy look. I love the like Lady Gaga inspired eyeliner.
So it was hard for me when he got canceled. Like I was sad. People always say you like live long enough to see your heroes become like villains in a regard. And that's what it felt like, for sure. And then it has you kind of second guessing everything. You know what I mean? Like I for so long I was just like, oh my God, now I can recognize he shouldn't have made that joke. And did our senses of humor at that time make our relationship inappropriate, or so on and so forth. And I think throughout it all, it just made me question everything and kind of gave me it was almost like a new chapter in my world, I guess. And after speaking to him, and see, I'm saying this in the same regard as other conversations we've had where I can't even think of all the jokes he made, and I'm sure I could sit here and be like, I think he's changed, I think he's grown, and someone could pull up one joke that's fucking awful and unforgivable and say, you're so wrong for forgiving him for that. So it's a hard water to tread in, but like, from what I see, because I don't see him all the time, I don't talk to him all the time, but when I have spoken to him and what I see, I feel like he's on a really great path now.
That's good to hear.
Good. And it's the internet's weird.
He wasn't doing controversial content for a while.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh shit, he was doing like blackface and
like that shit's inexcusable.
And asking his young cousin about sex.
Yeah, that shit is absolutely inexcusable.
Yeah. It is a question though, it's like,
and it's just so weird the way the internet works. Like certain people have been canceled for.
I think it's very interesting hearing this conversation from the likes of Tana Mongeau and Ethan Klein. Two people that have been called out for very similar things than Shane has been called out, when it comes to racist content. You know what I mean? Both of these people at one time or, another have been called that as well. And, there's, content out there to back that up as well. And it's like, hearing them talk about it as well is also really interesting.
Worse things are still filming a video and posting it to this day. You know what I mean? Like, the line on the internet of who gets forgiven and who doesn't, and yeah, it's very interesting to me.
I think the thing with Shane was not the vape. I think the thing with Shane was the amount of content. You know, whenever it comes to creators and they get called out for a really problematic clip or a really problematic tweet or something like that, people get shocked at it. But the problem was Shane had so many of those moments over the years that it kind of was like, oh my god, this is a pattern of behavior. So you have to look at it in a little bit of a different way. And again, that can be said about a lot of creators, but I think that that was the difference with Shane.
There was this one tweet you liked that I was interested in. You said, this person tweeted, the fact Shane Dawson made Tana Mongeau pee on him as soon as she turned 18 doesn't sit right with me. I can't believe I watched that video and thought it was funny. That's like your #1 most viewed video, right?
It's one of them for sure. That's kind of what I was saying in reference to there was an era where I was questioning everything. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
You're looking back and yeah.
And that, like at that time, like I probably liked so many tweets like that about that time, about everyone, Vlog Squad shit, everything. And I think now I've come to conclusions about how I feel like about that situation. I can honestly look back and say that it's not like I literally peed on him. Like it was.
That's what I was gonna ask.
So we made videos on this back in, my goodness, 2020. If you remember the video, I don't want to show it, but basically it was Shane Dawson lying down and he like tells Tana to like get on top of him and she's laughing so hard and she's like, I peed, and he's like, you peed on me and blah blah. And it's like one of their both most viewed videos. And then Shane's like, oh, I can feel it, and all. It was just really disgusting. And he was like a 30-something-year-old man, or at least like really late 20s, and Tana had just turned 18 years old, and it was really, really, really disturbing. And it was just like the lengths that Shane went for, you know, shock value, even, you know, those few years ago, was terrifying. And of course Tana was always gonna go along with it because Shane had this amount of power and influence and she was a big fan. I'm completely sympathetic towards that, and I never once would even imagine to blame Tana in that situation because she was just 18 years old.
Regard, like, yeah.
You didn't pee on him?
No, I didn't like physically actually
No pee touched him?
We made it seem like I did. Do you know what I mean? But I knew what I was doing. It's one of my most viewed videos.
He wasn't getting off. There was no like sexual.
No, yeah, like, I can come to a conclusion now that I think it was too far, and we were constantly making too far fucked up jokes. But at the time, the internet loved that shit, so we normalized the fuck out of it because it didn't matter. But I don't look at that as trauma. Like, I don't look at that now as like that was really fucking weird, and I need to like. You know what I mean? I just look at it as like a different time, too far, wild for sure. But it doesn't bother.
What's your guys' age difference? Like, how old is Shane?
It's a pretty big one, I think.
So that I see that.
It was so.
He's 34, so he's like my age.
Like 10 years old.
10 years.
Mm-hmm. I mean.
But so you're 18, he's 28. That's kind of a big difference. Yeah. I could see him being like making sexual videos with you.
And I think that he had a lot of growing up to do too, in the regard that like he was just always filming videos with all of...
I mean, what Tana's saying here is really not an excuse for this Shane situation. To say that a 28, 29-year-old has some growing up to do in the context of being overly playful, dare I say, with an 18-year-old on camera, being like he had a lot of growing up to do and that he was filming every day is really not an excuse. And I guess Tana's just trying to like rationalize this here to like not get involved in more drama, which I also understand, but like let's not, you know, let's not do that.
Anyone who had clout at the time, you know, he was in his view getting fucking era, you know?
Yeah.
He was filming all these videos with that same raunchy sense of humor with all of these upcoming people, some
a lot of them being really young.
In that very young like mindset. And he had a lot of growing up.
Okay, that's also not an excuse. To be like, oh, but he was in like a really young mindset. I understand what Tana's doing here, but it doesn't apply. To say that, like, it makes me really sad that Tana did all these things with Shane at 18 and, you know, a lot of it was, you know, being recorded and stuff. And she now is like saying like, well, you know, maybe he just had a lot of growing up to do and maybe he was like mentally, you know, like the same age as I was, whatever. No, that was like a near 30-year-old man, literally.
There's one bit he does that always blows my mind, which is that puppet.
Okay, and then for the rest of this, so we only really watched 6 minutes of 15, but for the rest of this, they watch the old content of Shane, they talk about it, it's nothing new that they're showing here, so I don't really feel the need to kind of watch this part with you, but just to kind of let you know if you want to watch that, that is, you know, available on there. But all I'm gonna say is, it makes me sad that Tana is kind of rationalizing what happened to her by saying that maybe Shane just needed to grow up, because the fact that as an 18-year-old, she was hanging out with someone who was 30 years old, and the 30-year-old was acting like this around her on camera and was using her for content the same way he was. You know, she was using Shane for content, Shane was using her, but there was a very clear power imbalance, age difference. It makes me really, really, really uncomfortable that, you know, because Tana's now talking with Shane again or whatever like that, that she's like almost trying to rationalize to us Shane's behavior by being, you know, he just had a lot of growing up to do and he was filming all the time and maybe he was just mentally the same age as me. Baby, that was a 30-year-old man and you were an 18-year-old. Like barely 18. I mean, it's interesting to hear her talk about this either way. I want to know your opinion of it. We can talk about it down below. Let me know. We'll talk about it. I appreciate you being here. Please make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to enter the giveaway as well, go over and follow me on Twitch. And yeah, bye.